Okay, today is August 12th at 6:03 maybe, and this is the Curriculum Instruction Committee meeting, and we'll go around the room since I see at least one new face. So I'm Julia Olafson.
Beverly Albright.
Mike Wolf. Greg Cooper. Rob Early. Kevin Strobel.
Jenny Lexford.
Preston McKnight.
Gary Stores.
Shelley Bukowski. Megan Weber.
Scott Evans.
And just a note that Mr. Strobel is here as a member of the public today. We will have Steve Miller joining us a little late. Okay, so I'm going to have the floor. It belongs to Mr. McKnight.
So we have altered and changed kind of the format a little bit of C&I, where we're going to bring you new items and presentations, hopefully, as they are called for. And there'll always be standing items until obviously we get them set to a level that everybody's satisfied while we're moving forward and handing things off. So that's kind of how we see the format. The other thing Dr. Cooper and I and the cabinet have spoken about is the development of succession planning in terms of leadership. And so we think we have a very strong leadership team. And so we'd like to get those folks in front of you guys as much as possible. And so that's what you'll see tonight. I'll make the first presentation, and then schools to watch. Jenny will deliver that. Internships in Chapter 339. Kristen Marcinko's done a lot of work this summer to bring that online. Shelley's going to provide you an update with extended school year summer program. And then the much anticipated and long-awaited year one iPad implementation will be Scott and Aaron.
President Scott and Vice President Rathgeb will be so pleased.
Yes. So after that, those folks can be free to leave or stay, and then we can go into the standing items as we go forward. So,
excellent.
One of the things that we think, and we've had a lot of conversation as a cabinet about, are regarding leadership and the development of the leadership team. And so the question that we kind of came to here is, are you willing to invest in leadership to develop a sustainable, high-performing district? And we know you are. But one of the things that is common in our district is we have a lot of people in their seats for the first time, and or really in there less than a year. So how do we build a common language, common leadership language? So last, I think it was March, I went to Columbia and was trained in strategic agility, which is one style of leadership and project management. So I wanted to share this idea with you guys, and we're looking at asking you to train and commit a training opportunity to the entire district leadership team. So, what's going on, Scott? Wasn't blaming you, Scott. Let's try it again.
This is instinctual.
Correct? That's
Your first year's on your laptop.
what, Mike?
Your first year's showing up on your laptop, and you're like right-clicking.
Okay. I guess I'll just move over here to the table. Then I can see it myself, Kevin, with these eyes. How's that? You are helping. You are helping. All right, here we go. All right. So, okay, so Lyle York and Dr. Dolberg are two people who, one is the head of Urban Ed, the other is the head of Columbia's leader, strategic organizational leadership program. And so, in order for us really to build out our common leadership model, we thought this would be very valuable. Now, what we look at in terms of our presentations is what are the constraints to the district. There are many good ideas out there. We can't do them all, nor should we do them all. So we kind of work through, you'll look on the right-hand side, that kind of metric to figure out, what are the constraints and things that we have to overcome. And if we feel like we can overcome those things, then we feel like it's an idea worth bringing forward to you guys. So in terms of the individual constraint, did we have leadership that was ready to engage kind of this common, consistent model? For those of you who work in business, this strategic agility would be akin to Lean Six or Six Sigma, that kind of training. So was the group ready for it? Was our entire leadership team ready? Is the district ready for it? So we worked our way through all those pieces. Certainly technology was not a big constraint in this particular topic, but how well do we handle and tolerate kind of the unknown? Is our system built to manage that and deal with that? How well do we understand who's the most important customer? Most of us would always say it's the student or the family. But sometimes it's the teacher, sometimes it's the maintenance staff. There are different pieces when you put projects together that help us lead out and identifying who those people are. There's certain strategies. How do we look at the unmet needs of those different populations? And ultimately, what strategic direction can we take to basically address the most important customer, most valuable customer? And I think for this case in particular, it's going to be our leadership team. How do they engage strategically using real tools, real strategies, that we're all speaking the same language as we go forward, and you begin to build institutional stability in your leadership team. So long after one of us moves on or retires, the language and consistency still stays. And really, what is excellence except a bunch of years of good? So if we keep changing direction every 2 or 3 years, you don't get very far. If we can stay consistent and we can invest in this team that's here today and several others who are on the team, people will stay, you'll feel that you believe in them, and we'll grow the practice and we'll grow our team. How do I get organizational alignment to execute the strategic and innovative initiatives that we want to carry out? You're going to see several things that are beginning to engage in what we perceive, at least, as innovative practices for our district. How do we deliver the highest service point now back to students who are the service point and families who are the customer? So this is all part of aligning our effort to maximize our performance to deliver on those service points. So those are the 2 days of those workshops that we're showing you. There are the objectives. I think obviously you can read for yourself, but I think they're all worthwhile, and if we could all be consistent in those practices, I think we would be well served as a team. Five key questions to ask kind of as we work, this program takes us through every time. How well do we handle, kind of the unknown? How do we discover the talent, on our team to make sure we're meeting our customer service point, if you want to speak that way? How well do I know the organization's value chain? So as we just did the comprehensive plan, the values have been established. Okay, how do we begin to align our resources and our team, our staff, our dollars, okay, our products to deliver for the points that we're talking about? Can we visualize the direction that we need to take the team? And then how does the organizational alignment execute the strategy and innovations that we need to carry out? So this is part and parcel of that training that comes from Columbia. And essentially, we think that if you're willing to invest in this team can deliver for not only in the short term in a high-performing way, but in a very long-term way. I think you've seen that there are people here who are willing to stay and be committed, and we're asking for a return, to that side. So the real big question is what, Mr. Wolf?
How much does it cost?
My man. So we can go one of 2 ways here, okay? And the money is in the budget for the professional development of the administrators. So there is money there to use. Whether we choose to use it or not is really the conversation here now. So we can go with the credentialing of Columbia, an Ivy League institution, which is awesome, okay, for $25,000 for the entire team. Or we could go for $13,000, still have the same 2 people come here, still give us the training, and we don't have the, certification that say Columbia, just the certification that says strategic agility. We are recommending that we take the $13,000 option, obviously, because we want the skill set more so than anything. So if we look at 20 people on the team, that's clearly less than $1,000 per member.
Is it the exact same training?
Exactly, it's those 2 people with the exact same training.
So you wouldn't
Columbia
get more
wanted their
people
cut?
than that if you'd...
I beg your pardon?
You wouldn't... So you're just paying for the name? That's what the other...
Correct. We had a
$12,000.
conference call.
Okay.
And-
Okay, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's not a watered-down version that you're...
No,
Okay.
Wow.
no, but you don't get it like the fancy Columbia.
Tying the need to continue the requirements that are necessary.
You get Act 48 credit.
Is he on
this? You get the hours, that would reach 2 hours, which is embedded.
I don't know what's about it, but
Yep.
We, over the last 5 months, we've set a lot of benchmarks for training that we want to offer, at the administrative level, especially since Dr. Cooper has come on board. So do we have enough money in our budget to also meet all those benchmarks this year too, without any issues? Because I know, telling us that we have it in the budget doesn't mean that, I just want to make sure that we are going to, because I know there's a lot, and we had identified a need for all of it, so, okay.
So, that's what's on your plate, and I can certainly send this out or talk to Steve, when he's available. Take him through this
Sure.
information.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
What's the timeline for this, Preston?
We would have to commit to them, well, it's open, but the sooner we get our team up and running, fully trained and supported, the better. However, we're looking at targeting that October in-service time for the administrators. So we have a little bit of time for you guys to make some decisions. But
And when do you need to get them on
we've
their schedule?
We've kept them up to date with where we are in the process, as a team having the conversation, then having the conversation with you tonight, they're aware. So I'll provide them, some kind of update that we presented. It was not rejected at this point.
Do you need a recommendation out of this committee to move forward?
Yeah, we would.
Because of the amount of money it is.
Right.
I don't have, as you know, I tend to fall back on, we brought Dr. Cooper in here to put his team together in the way that he wants to put it together and to provide them with the skills that they need to make that happen. So I don't have an issue with it. Do we have at least 3 that would be willing to recommend that to go forward?
Yeah.
You're
one of the 3. Okay. Yeah, so we'll make that recommendation.
Great. With that said, it's my pleasure, when we look at our team and our leadership and our growth, Jenny Rexford has been leading our middle school for some time, and we've talked a good deal about branding.
Steve Miller just joined us.
So we've talked a good deal about branding. We've tried to brand the high school nationally with AP, Washington Post, etc. Melanie has been working on school-wide positive, certification from the state. Megan's identifying she wants to look at her brand, and Jenny has for some time been interested in schools to watch, getting this continual recognition as a district. So
Okay.
this time, Jenny.
Okay, so as Preston said, this has been something that I've been interested in doing with our middle school for a few years. At the time, I didn't feel in the last few years that we were quite ready to pursue this, just due to different things with the district and changing administration and things like that. But now that we have a solid administrative team, I think this is the perfect time to pursue this. So as Preston said, branding is something that we've had a lot of conversation about, and I've actually been really doing a lot of work with that just over the past few months. I went to a session where they talked a lot about branding, and they were talking about branding in the sense of a business, but then also talked about branding yourself as an individual, and of course, why not also brand your middle school? So this is something that is the perfect opportunity for us, because one of the things that I think is so great about our middle school is that when you talk to people in the community, and I talk to families, one of the things that many of them will say to me are things like, when I walk into the door of the middle school, I can just feel that it's a great positive environment. Or they might say, I can tell that your faculty and staff really care about my kids. It's really a student-centered environment. So how do we get that message out to people who haven't walked through my door, who maybe don't live in our community, maybe who do live in our community but don't have children or grandchildren that go through the school? So the idea to celebrate our middle school, why Schools to Watch? Why is that a program? And we're celebrating what we already know is great about the middle school, and it's going to push us even harder to be better by giving us this goal to work toward. And then the awesome part about this program is that it actually gives you a roadmap to get there. So there's a rubric that they provide that gives you all of the criteria, and then as a middle school, we actually self-assess with that rubric in the beginning and see where we are, and then we plot out the course to get to that designation. So the criteria is research-based, and it's aligned with middle-level best practices. And why Schools to Watch also? It is a pretty elite program. There are 4 schools in Berks County who have this designation: Twin Valley, Schuylkill Valley, and both of the Wilson middle schools. There are actually no other schools that are surrounding us. So schools like Springford, Owen J. Roberts, Upper Perk, they don't have this designation. So it would certainly set us apart. And I know sometimes, and I'm sure some of you have heard it too, there are a lot of parents and our students who have a lot of friends and colleagues that work in the Montco, Chester County area, and they hear a lot about those schools and have this idea of the quality of those schools, but our school is just as great, if not, I think it's even greater. So why not get this designation, and then that sets us apart. There are 40 total schools in Pennsylvania. 18 states participate in this program, and there's 465 total schools. And it is the National Forum to Accelerate Middle Grades Reform. So there are 4 domains for scoring: academic excellence, developmental responsiveness, social equity, and organizational structures and processes. And the rubric's actually pretty comprehensive, so what I did was I just took it and I put it on one sheet so you could get an idea of what makes up each one of those categories. So this will give you an idea of basically what criteria we need to hit in order to gain this designation. In reading down this list, you probably will see some things that you're like, absolutely, the middle school does that already, check that off the list. However, there are some things that we certainly need to work on and things that we need to put in place as a middle school. So my projection is that by June of 2021, we'll be ready to reach out to the Middle Grades Forum and say we're ready to be evaluated. So as I said, the process starts with the school actually self-evaluating itself. I would create a committee also that we would sit down periodically and look through this list and talk about where we are, where we need to go, and then when we meet those, then we can check those off the list that we are doing them. And again, the great part and the part that I love so much about this program is it's all great stuff that regardless of whether we're getting this designation or not, we should be doing as a middle school. So the benefits to us as a district, it's national recognition for a district and middle school. And as Preston said earlier, the high school has done an awesome job in the past few years of getting those designations for the high school. So it's time for the middle school to join them in that. The process to earn the designation, again, something that we should be doing anyway because it's just making us better as a building. And cost. This is the greatest part. The cost is minimal. Really, the only cost that you have is becoming a member of the PAMLE, which is the Pennsylvania Association of Middle Level Education, which we already belong to as a middle school. It's in my budget every year, and it's just a couple $100. And then small costs with things like refreshments at a parent meeting. So one of the big things, and my next slide will go through that, is some of the things that we need to start doing a better job of implementing at the middle school. Having more parent meetings, having more just opportunities for the community to be part of the middle school. So when I have that parent meeting, I should probably have refreshments at that parent meeting. So small costs like that. We started clubs last year in 6th grade for all 6th graders. That will expand to 7th and 8th grade this year. So there might be a couple things, like a teacher might come to me and say, I really want to do this club, but I need $5 per kid for X, and their club has 20 kids. So just small things like that that are going to just be able to put some of these things in place and make them good. Timeline. So the goal is 2 years to implement and prepare. My first year is the most important things for me are rolling out more community involvement. That's an area that I think that I'm lacking at the middle school, so that's an area that I want to expand. Starting with grade 7 for cross-curricular activities. So we do these sporadically, I would say, in the middle school, but the reason why I started with 7th grade is because I changed the teams for this year in 6th and 8th. So my 7th grade is staying the same for this year because they had a little upheaval last year because they had that really big class, so they had those shared teachers. So I thought I'll give them 1 year of stability without those extra teachers. So they've been working together for a number of years, so it would be perfect to start those cross-curricular activities with them and have us start one in every quarter this year. And then the professional development, which we're already starting in our in-service next week. So that's an area that we're growing too. And that was an area that was that was where some of my hesitation was in the past few years, because we didn't have as much professional development available. So now that we have that, I feel like we're in a much better place to move forward with this. In the second year, the 6th and 8th grades fully involved in cross-curricular activities. We get our iPads next year, so there's a lot of things and a lot of opportunities we will have to just expand upon and make what we're already doing that's great even greater. And then step up the community aspects from the year prior. And then more flexible interventions. I'm really excited about what the high school's doing this year with their flex period. So I think that taking some of what they do and then adapting it to work for the middle school would be great. It would be really nice to allow those to be a little bit more flexible. We have interventions in the middle school. We just don't treat them with students going in and out of them more frequently. So I think it would be nice to kind of take from what they're doing and adapt that to the middle school. So I'd like to look at that for next year. And then contacting the program for the start of the application process in June of 2021. And the nice thing too is when they come out, even if we don't make it in the first year, they give you a very detailed report that says here are the areas you need to grow, and then we can implement those things the following year. I know Twin Valley went through that. So then they implemented those things the following year, and then they went through the process again, and then they made it. So again, the best thing about this is it's just an opportunity for us to grow and to be even better than I already know that we are. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to pursue this. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do.
Okay.
How are some of these things measured? It seems like a lot of it could be subjective.
So there is a very detailed rubric for them. Things like, basically, do I have a parent group in the building? So a parent advisory of sorts, which I had a few years ago and then it kind of died off, so I'm going to be starting that again. It is almost, some of it is more of a, do you have this? Is this available to you in the middle school?
So they don't measure each one of these things like clear expectations or academic rigor?
Yes, and some of it is, you're right, some of it is subjective. I mean, they will speak to teachers, they'll speak to me, they'll look at our curriculum, they'll look at what we're doing in the classroom, they may come and observe and see what we're actually doing and then make that determination as to whether we meet that criteria or not.
Anyone else have any questions?
Is anything for policy or for the handbook, is it these things are going to have to be codified or changed in our policies and in our student handbook to address some of this?
I don't believe so. I think, as I said, I think everything is pretty much best practice. So there's nothing in here that's something that I think we need to say we're changing this about the middle school because we're now doing this. For example, if you just look into the social equity, supports for all academically, supports for all behaviorally. So they're going to look and say, do we have the interventions for our students and are they effective? So we're doing things like that. Technology use, obviously, again, as I said, when all the students are one-to-one next year, that moves us even forward into that. But right now, even, we use a lot of technology in our classroom. It's just that our students don't all have that. Inclusion, I know Shelley would agree that we do a very good job of that at the middle school. So I think a lot of the things are things that either already exist and we just need to take that one step forward and make it even better than it already is, or it's things where or like 339 and goal setting. So making sure that 339 program is excellent and that the kids are goal setting. And we already do that, but it takes just a little bit more to make it just a little bit better. I don't think there's anything that needs to be in the handbook or policy.
So it's really,
that would
a lot of
change
these
it.
things is taking what you already are doing
And making
and then
it
address
better.
and like whatever their judgment criteria is, this is how we address this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Words. The, the group that you're going to get together to start evaluating where you are and auditing what your current best practices are and what you need. Have you started that already, or?
So what we'll do is once school starts, we have team meetings once a cycle. So the teams, I'm going to ask them to fill out the rubric
Okay.
as a team, and then I will ask for volunteers that want to be part of the committee.
Okay.
And then we'll get together and we'll go through the rubrics and talk about what's there. And I think, and I'd like to sort of map it out as to, okay, these are the areas that the faculty sees as a deficit, because
Right.
they will have every faculty member and actually every member of the building complete a rubric that at the end, that
Right.
when we feel like we're ready. So
Yeah.
what are the areas that my faculty feels that we are lacking in or that we could improve, and then figure out, okay, what are the easiest ones for us to tackle first? Let's get those out of the way, and then what do we need to do to tackle the rest of them? So I already have an idea,
And
so
so
it'll be
the,
interesting
yeah.
to hear what the faculty.
So the idea is when you go through it, like whenever, like in the next month or two, when you go through and have the teams report back to you, when we get to, I guess, fall of 2020, which would be 9 months before you're ready to send in, like if you have another set of feedback from your team, then nothing that they present you at that time is a surprise.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
And I made myself kind of a list of what I was thinking, and my 1920 list is longer than my
Sure.
2021 list.
Right.
I'm hoping we're getting to the, just kind of shoring everything up.
Right.
So that we can be ready for that.
So as we talk as an entire team, our effort is to build systemic excellence, or an opportunity for systemic excellence. So first, they have to have the system design, and then we can enhance and provide teachers the opportunity to really be empowered to do their good work within that system or that framework. And so that's what we see at the high school with MTSS, that is going to backward design down to kindergarten, and this is an important piece to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just to watch.
Okay, the next three are more informational. We'd like to provide you guys some updates all the time with what's happening and where we're at. So Kristen Marsenko is going to speak on internships, Chapter 339, which will also, it's a state mandate, she'll go into the details of that, but Kristen's put a tremendous amount of work as the lead counselor in the high school into this project, because for 4 years, Mike, you probably remember trying to go back and get internships going and could never really get them off the ground in a really meaningful way. And so when Kristen agreed to kind of take this on and kind of put her name next to it, it has really started to grow quickly. So let me just find where hers is. Here it is, this one, right?
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the high school internship program and also Chapter 339. As you will see, they do go hand in hand. Internship is a key part of Chapter 339, helping our high school to become career ready, and the students. So obviously the goal as educators, for when students leave high school, our goal is that they're career ready, that they have some type of meaningful engagement after high school. That's going to depend on the student, to be honest, and there's a lot of different paths that they can take. We're looking at 4-year schools, 2-year schools, technical schools, work, military, different career pathways. Depending on, regardless of the path, what we're looking for at the high school is that the student has what is the best fit for every student, and that fit is going to be different. There was a time, and even today, the view is that everyone has to go into a 4-year school. And yes, that is a good fit for a lot of students, but that's not the only fit. There's a lot of options out there, and through internships and different experiences and through the Chapter 339 programming, you're going to see that students are going to be exposed to a lot of different things. All right, so how do we prepare our students to be career ready? Okay. Obviously through awareness and exploration. These are the state standards. These are the 4 standards K through 12 that the state is asking school districts to meet. Through preparing our students by exposing them to these standards and giving them activities to prove successful, these are the standards that we ask that they're aware of. So obviously the awareness and exploration, what are students' strengths? What are their interests, and how does that relate to careers? That's a K through 12. You're going to see that at elementary level, also going into 9th and 10th grade. But taking it a step further, how do students acquire a career? Building resumes, interviewing skills, employability. Are they employable? Do they have those soft skills? Also, do they have the skills and knowledge for retention and advancement once they have a career past high school? And then also the entrepreneurship, characteristics such as, being, what we say at the high school is grit. Having that determination, having that resolve in order to be successful. Those are things we want to teach our students at the high school as well. So who is promoting career readiness? Obviously, like I said, it's a state mandate through Chapter 339. Chapter 339 does mandate that all districts have a comprehensive school counseling program, K through 12. Through the state, looking down the level into the county right now there is a push in the county for initiatives as well. Because the county is looking as if they invest in our students K through 12, the students are going to bring back to their workforce, which is then going to improve the economy. So this county is doing a lot of things, which we're going to get into in a little bit, in order to develop our students as well. And then obviously here at the high school, I can go into what we're doing as well. And I think the thing that to remember is the state is asking us to do certain things. We want to take it a step past compliance. We want to take it as what is the best programming for our students 9 through 12 at the high school to prepare them for what they want to do after. So if we're looking, you can go to 9 through 12. If we're looking at the programming 9 through 12, this is what the paper that you have in front of you. It does outline what we're having our students do. Just a couple things, and you can read the paper and read the screen. However, if you're looking at things that are consistent across grade levels, for example, resume building. Every year we're going to ask students to start their resume in 9th grade and then add to it regarding their work experience, extracurriculars, so when they leave high school they have that. In addition, pathway and course selection. Picking a pathway in grade 9 and then updating it every year. As you can see in 9th grade, there's a lot of exposure, there's a lot of awareness with careers, with visits for businesses and college visits. And then we move into, in grade 10, really looking at careers, breaking those down for students. What's the umbrella pathway? What are the careers underneath? And then going into 11th grade, really breaking down as to what post-secondary education is needed for those careers. So this is what the programming at the high school looks like. We've done these things for the past many years, but now we're kind of putting it into a program in a transition so you can see it grades 9 through 12. Some other things to look at here in grade 11, financial literacy. This was a need at the high school, and students were getting them in some of the business classes, but this is something that we're going to incorporate in the curriculum, so every 11th grader is going to be learning about debt and learning about budgeting.
Can I ask a quick question? Is that the where the financial literacy we discussed last year? So 11th grade is where it fell,
Right.
in conjunction with health.
Yes.
That's what goes with the health,
Okay,
right?
thank you.
In addition to the activities, that we're doing through our Chapter 339, we're also promoting in grade 9 career speakers and having a career fair. The career speakers, we have 5 speakers lined up already for this school year from the different pathways through the IU. They're going to be coming in and talking to all the 9th graders, and then the 9th graders are going to attend all of them, and then they have to write a reflective essay on at least one of them. The career fair is something we've been doing for a couple years, so that's going to continue to happen for the 9th graders. The progression then going into grades 10 and 11 is career shadowing, going out into businesses and getting that experience, and then turning that experience into an internship in grade 11 and 12. So the internship program, last year we had 3 students that completed the program, and when I mean complete, I mean that they put in their hours, they did a presentation at the end, they did a paper, and they did the entire experience. This year, in order to get it started and to really pilot it, what I wanted to do is we had an informational night over the summer. For our July meeting, we thought it was very well attended, and a number of students did express interest. So we have a list of students that would be interested in an internship and what pathway they're interested in an internship in. Also, we sent out emails to district faculty in regards to who would be willing to take an intern. Because starting this, I thought a great way to implement would be who in our district would be willing to take an intern. We have so many amazing people here. Are they willing to give back and have someone come into their classroom? I've gotten so much support. There's at least, I think it's up to 19 now internal internships available just through the district that are advertised on our website, which I'll show you in a little bit. Also administration support regarding flexible scheduling. We've seen that there might we want to do obviously what the student needs in regards to finding an internship, but also we need to think about what the employer needs. The employer might need someone to come in for a 3-week period during a busy time and may need help to see what that looks like. Another employer may need just a couple hours every week for the entire year. So we have some flexibility with scheduling in order to make that happen. We talked about the state and county support regarding Chapter 339. The county is looking at internships because that is giving back, obviously developing their career interest, which is going to be giving back to the workforce and then the economy. So they are really looking into pushing internships. I know Wilson and Twin Valley right now have huge internship programs. So that's, we're looking to take ours to that level as well. Some of the internship advantages, obviously, these are ones that we know, gaining actual work experience in a field of interest. Also exploring a career path. We had a student that did an elementary internship this past year, and by doing that all year, she was in, I forget which class she was in, I think it was your building? I'm not sure. But it solidified that she wanted to go into elementary education, but she also had worked with a student that had special needs in that classroom. So then it also opened her to wanting to go into special education as well. Obviously, making connections and networking is a huge thing, to be able to have references for your resume, to be able to come back when you're in college and maybe do an internship experience in a school here as well. And then with how competitive colleges are and how competitive the job market is, strengthening resumes, students gaining confidence. There's obviously a number of advantages for students to be doing internships. There is already business and community backing, and what I mean by that is through the IU, they have a Career Ready Berks, which is a platform that they have businesses that have already agreed to offer these experiences for our students. So the experiences range from students being able to go in and take tours, career speakers coming into buildings, job shadowing, and then internships. So there is a database of employers that have already agreed. It's just reaching out to them once we have a student that has an interest. Yep. So through the high school website, on the school counseling website under internships, there are current internship opportunities that are currently posted. I'm excited because, as you can see, it's elementary, middle, and high school, so there is experience that's available for the different levels. We also have food services that has reached out saying they would be willing to take an intern. There's 4 different ones through wellness. I talked to Mr. Matz. He's also willing to take an intern in the IT department, and athletics actually is going to be offering 2 internships. So these are all internships that are just in-house for our students. And this information is being rolled out right now via social media to the students to have them go look at these opportunities. However, the first day of school, we will be doing the class assembly. So this will go out to the juniors and seniors that I'll present this information to them directly. And then if you scroll down a little bit and click on the Career Ready Berks. I also wanted to show you the Career Ready Berks platform. This is a good way that's going to help me place students, but also students can go here and they can express an interest as well, where you can search experiences. So you can you can filter it by pathway, you can filter it by job shadow, or you can filter it by what exactly you're looking for. And it will tell you what businesses have already agreed. And then the students can just view them. However, the counselors have accounts, so we can go in and contact the business contact directly and set up that experience for the student. That is it. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I had heard some good feedback from people who parents and children went to the internship presentation this summer. So,
Are there any local businesses that are participating?
Well, through the local as in Birdsboro, through the platform, there's obviously 110 in the county. What I'm doing right now is trying to gauge what students, the ones that are internally, what students I can place, and then the list that I have reaching out through the county and seeing, and then if there's none that I can match up, then it is going to be what contacts do we have, and also really cold calling to try to match up students.
One of the recommendations we received was before we contact local businesses and then know how to see to fill it, identify the student and then go to the local businesses. questions?
That's a good point. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Next, Shelley. You up next, Shelley? So, okay, guys, we have ESY program update from Shelley. So, let's see, here we go.
You did it right.
Good job.
Let's take you. So while this is informative for you, it's serving a variety of purposes for me and for us as a district. Go ahead, you know the next slide. So I started with a question, what ESY information should be included in a special education procedural manual for educators in the district? That is my goal this year, to roll that out. I will be meeting with my teachers in October to go over the procedures that I have already written. In addition to having that manual in front of them, it will also serve to finalize the corrective action in response to compliance monitoring. ESY was one of those areas that was identified, however, not for our teachers, but students that we place in outside placements. They missed the February 28th timeline. While it didn't deny anyone service, they look at that for the target group of students. You have to have their meetings by February 28th. And that gives the parents, if we would deny an ESY program, there's enough time to file due process and get a program in place. But again, no one missed services, but they just missed that deadline, so that was one of the actions. So ESY, it's required to be discussed for every special education student. However, it's not required for every student to attend ESY to receive FAPE. It's beyond the 180-day school year. Again, it's looking at students that have those severe handicaps that are going to continue indefinitely for them or for a prolonged period. We look at the skills, they can't have that delay in services or time working on those skills because the recoupment takes too long and then they're missing, they're losing out on those skills. Go ahead. So looking at ESY versus general ed summer school, they're not the same terms. ESY is designed for students to maintain progress that they made. It's not to increase or attain additional skills. It's just to work on the skills that they've worked on through that school year, just to maintain. So we're not going beyond and teaching new things. Again, it's a necessary program for students who need that special education and those related services. So what is ESY? ESY is working on those specific essential skills that are critical for that student that the IEP team has determined. One of the areas that we did talk about during compliance monitoring was we do have a lot of students that we identify in-house for ESY because teachers are not realizing that while you may qualify this summer, it doesn't automatically mean that you then need ESY every summer. We really need to look at that, and that is a discussion I will have with them in October. Again, it's to maintain progress, not to learn new skills. And the goal really is to minimize regression. Every student regresses with skills over the summer. However, it's that recoupment. How long does it take them to regain those skills? And typically the students who are qualified for ESY, that recoupment takes far too long and much longer than students in the general education population. So what it's not, in addition to those things, again, it's not mandated for everybody with a disability. It's not child care. It's not a summer recreation program. It's not a continuation of the whole IEP. It would be impossible for some of our students to work on every single goal in their IEP. So that's another focus where the IEP team really needs to narrow that down to what do they need to work on in the summer. Again, it's not every service that they receive, and it's not every goal in their IEP. There are federal and state guidelines that mandate ESY. Those are extensive and long. I didn't include those here, but those will be included in the manual. That is one of the formats I'm going to include to be sure that the teachers are seeing all of the federal guidelines, all of the state guidelines, best practices, and then important information. So determining the need for ESY, again, it really needs to be data-driven. We're not there yet. Teachers really need to be collecting data before a holiday or a break, and then using that same information that they collected the data on to then see how are the students coming back? Have they regressed over that break? And then again, how long does it take them to recoup that information? So we really do have the data to say no to the students that don't need to be there again, because that's what we're going to have to present to parents. Or yes, they do qualify because we do have that data as well. Making the determination, we take that information and document on the IEP. Again, it's for every student we're talking about ESY. We're either saying yes or no. And then at the end, we're issuing a NORA to include whether they're eligible or ineligible. For this past summer, we had 49 students participate in our in-house ESY program, and then 14 students in 11 out-of-district placements. So typically, our ESY, we had 6 classrooms. Everybody's program is held over at the Intermediate Center, but they are divided out into ages that are appropriate that can be together. Obviously, we do not have typical peers, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be a traditional what it looks like during the school year. So they have a morning check-in. Each classroom has a morning meeting. It really is academically focused. They are working on reading, math, and writing. There's a snack in the classroom, and that's just not like a quiet sit and eat your snack. That's where they're generalizing social skills. The same with the lunch. We used to do whole group lunch where everyone ate together, but it was too much of the adults having the social time and not really focusing on the social skills, so everybody eats in their classroom. Students, we do have OT, PT, speech. Everybody participates in a group OT activity just to keep those skills and have some fun in the program. They do go outside to recess. And then there's some wind down after lunch, a read aloud. Some of the older kids were playing Uno and doing kind of group games. And transportation is provided, and then they're called out to go to the buses. These are just some pictures from the summer. In the past, we did more outings, but again, that's not what ESY is supposed to be, because no one has a bowling goal in their activity, but we do take one trip just to kind of finish the summer, and they took a bowling trip this year. They were out on the nature trail, but you can see it's really academically focused, and that was our whole group picture, one of the ending days of the summer. Any questions? We had great staff in talking about seeing our students come back. We had students who graduated 3 years ago who are still in college. They're going to be special education teachers, and they came back to work as aides,
nice.
and it was fantastic. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. It is not like
I think it is. My meetings are like, you mocking me, Wolf?
Alrighty, so yeah, the
One-to-one
long-awaited
learning.
one-to-one presentation.
Your faces always make me laugh.
So we call this by the numbers because anecdotally, I think we agree that year one was a success, but we wanted to give you guys some actual numbers that we can use to track not only at the high school year over year, but as we look at the rest of the district as well. So you're going to see in different sections, we're not only looking at just the high school, but the district as a whole, and as well as the state as well, so we can measure ourselves up against a couple of different areas. But as always, just a little background how we got here. So we had approximately 75 faculty devices that were distributed in the spring of 2017. All students in grades 9 through 12 did receive a device, which worked out to just under 1,200 student devices. And obviously they received those devices in the fall of 2018. So we're about to kick off year 2 in just a few short weeks. So as we look at our classroom tools, this is going to be Schoology, Google, the actual tools that we're using in the classroom. And those numbers are very interesting because what we found was in just, for example, the first quarter of last year, we eclipsed our total usage in the 3 years prior that we had Schoology, that we were implementing Google. So we really saw that integration really take off in the district, which was really thrilling for us. So when we take a look at Schoology specifically, we can see that we had over 146,000 documents posted, over 156,000 assignments submitted in that system. So that's electronic materials being distributed to the students. That's assignments going back and forth through the students. Most importantly, that's 156,000 assignments that weren't on paper that were submitted electronically. Similarly, those documents represent individual trees that didn't have to be killed because we were distributing those assignments digitally.
A1 something up.
The most impressive number to us was the pages viewed in Schoology. So when I reference eclipsing 3 years prior, the first quarter of the year, we were at about 3 million page views already in Schoology. The prior years, we had only seen about 1 million total views across a year on average, which was a respectable number, but totally blown out of the water once we launched our one-to-one program. And really, Schoology is where the majority of our course content is being posted. It's also where we're actively promoting our athletic clubs, our activities to have groups for students for communication. It's really becoming the central portal for our students to access information for them, so it's a one-stop shop for them. Heading over to the Google side of things, similar numbers there that we were quite impressed with. We saw over 4,000 spreadsheets created this year, over 13,000 presentation, and 59,000 documents. So those are akin to Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. And overall, we saw just shy of 250,000 files created. So that's also including in our digital arts, Photoshop files, our media files, AutoCAD files. There's a significant number of files. And by storing all of that in Google as well, we were able to circumvent some of the restraints we had on premise for file storage and different things. Google gives us unlimited file storage. So really we were able to open up a number of opportunities for our students that they didn't previously have, because on-premise resources were just limiting them in that capacity. So they took full advantage of it. We expect to see those numbers just continue to grow as we go through the second year. And so the best part of it, we did a survey back in the spring through Bright Bites, and you'll see in the coming sections that's really where we're pulling a lot of our data from. But 98% of our students reported having wireless internet access at home. So it's not just that we provide these tools, they have to be able to access these tools. So at home, our students were able to access them. The remaining 2% reported having wired internet at home. So even if they didn't have wireless, they still had internet access. So our students are self-reporting 100%. I do believe we were probably not quite at 100% truly, but our numbers, based on the other totals you're seeing, do reflect a high percentage of internet access. And that can be via Service Electric, Verizon, that sort of thing. Or a number of our students use mobile hotspots. They join their iPads to their phone. So really the definition of internet at home is changing amongst our students as well, which is very interesting for us. So I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Scores in a second here for technology integration, but just to give you an idea of the information you're going to see. So this is where we're going to break it down by the high school, and you're going to see a student response and a teacher response. They're posed the same question, both given an opportunity to reply. Then the same survey was administered across the district, so we have a district number that would encompass the primary center, the intermediate center, and the middle school. And then finally a state number, which encompasses all of Bright Bites Pennsylvania customers. And one thing I'll just give you some insight into before we start is you will see some discrepancies between the teacher number and the student number for the same question. And really what that comes down to is if we had, for the sake of whole numbers, 10 teachers who all have the same 100 students, if 10 of those, or 8 out of those 10 teachers say they use technology daily, obviously 80%, but those 100 kids do have one of the 8 teachers who is using it daily, so you're going to see that higher number of student responses as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of why you see that discrepancy there. The other thing to keep in mind, again, obviously you're going to see the district number. Obviously a high school is going to have some improved numbers by nature of the one-to-one program, whereas the district, we continue to grow out the technology use as we go through. So I'll hand it off to Mr. Spores here so you can walk through the classroom piece.
All right, so these are the responses that we got from the teachers, students, everyone in the district and the state. This is a simple question of use of technology in the classroom. Only 80% of the teachers responded that the technology was being used in the classroom. However, 90% of our students. When you talk about or talk to the students about their use of technology, it's interesting because you have to remember the students that are being surveyed in 9th grade right now have never known an era other than the smartphone era. So sometimes when they would be in study hall, they're on their phone, their fingers are going away, you think they're texting or something. You walk up behind them, they're typing on the notes, they're writing a paper, they're answering questions to a homework assignment that they're then going to transfer over when they can to the document because their iPad's dead. They're using technology far beyond what we can comprehend using it for because it's always been a part of their life. Smartphones have always been around since they've been a child, whereas it's a new technology to us that we have to learn and use and learn how to utilize in different ways. They have grown up with it, so to them it's just second nature to, I'm not going to write something down when I can type it on my phone. They can probably type on their phones faster. So that's why you see the higher number for uses of technology because the students realizing how to use it in ways that sometimes it takes us longer to realize we can use technology for that. So you can see we're vastly above where the district as a whole is in the state for the uses of technology. The platform for research, you'll see that.
Is that just high school?
Yeah. Yep. The top number, the student number is just the 9th.
Yeah, teacher and student is limited just to the high school.
So the performing research via technology, the teachers might think of it only 33% of the time. So when they're thinking, their ideas and their concepts for research are research-based questions where they give it out to the kids, research-based projects that they might be using technology to come up with an answer for. The students view it in a whole nother platform that they use. If they don't know something, they find it out. Like they want to know, they Google it. Google tells them everything. So even if a teacher doesn't in their brain think, I'm assigning an assignment that the student needs to use technology to find the answer. If it's just a question during a lesson that the student doesn't know, rest assured they're going to find out the answer. They're going to go look it up because they want to know because all of their friends are already doing that. They don't want to be left out. So the students responded that they use it for even more than the teachers fathom they would. You can see that we're vastly above the district as a whole and the state. Class collaboration, again, I think some of these numbers are because the teachers are viewing it as, like in their minds, I created an assignment or a lesson or a project, and that's what they're collaborating with, where the students collaborate on everything from homework to upcoming tests. I mean, it really is a type of environment now with kids. Collaboration's everywhere because technology to them is second nature. So they don't have to wait to just collaborate on a project. If they don't know something about a homework assignment, Schoology or other platforms, they figure it out, they find it out amongst themselves. So I think they're using it in ways for collaboration that us as the adults haven't really fathomed yet. Yeah?
Is the district with a state number for the teacher use, or is the district for teachers, state for student?
So the district is anyone that filled out the survey below us, and the state is all of their customers. Yeah. So receiving feedback from other individuals, you'll notice the teachers are a little bit higher on this one, and we're both a little bit lower than the state. The teachers definitely receive the feedback and use it the most for feedback because they're collaborating on assignments and projects to ultimately review and refine what they're putting out to the students and ultimately the parents as well. The students are, number one, students, and don't necessarily think when they should have feedback or review from others. They're focused on getting it done. Get the project done, get the grade.
A little confused. It says that percentage of respondents reporting never seeking feedback from other individuals.
Correct.
Yep, so this is an area, this is for this coming school year, is a great target area. So a neighboring district has branded their one-to-one program. It's a great branding. I would love to shamelessly steal it. One to World. And really technology with the one-to-one program, that's one of the things it should do is break down the classroom walls, allow our students to solicit feedback, not just from the teacher in the room, but other faculty members or in that curricular area or in the building So this is one of the areas that we think we can really help refine our programming. You can see in the state and the district as a whole, it's not something that's occurring. We still are in that traditional model that I can only ask my teacher in that classroom for feedback, whereas technology can break that down to subject area experts outside of education and in a particular industry. It could be, again, a teacher in the same curricular area, but just it's not a teacher they have. So this is an area we'll be working with Mrs. Driehaus on the tech coach to really work with our students and the teachers to help break down those walls, because really that's what technology does. It allows us to expand beyond the brick and mortar and go outside of Danny Boone, outside of Pennsylvania, wherever we look. But yeah, correct. This is the percent that are not soliciting feedback outside of their classroom.
So the 65% being the lower number is the better.
That's correct, yes. The students are soliciting more feedback, yeah.
So use of digital assessments, this goes back again to the assignments and the paper. The teachers definitely have been utilizing it more for formative and summative assessments. I think this is still a growth area that we can look to expand once we get the teachers a little bit more comfortable with the assessment tools that they can use and create. So I think this is one of the areas that we can definitely grow, but it has in 1 year been used more than we ever thought it would be. And again, data is everywhere now. We use it for everything. It's a good way to show exactly what we want to do and inform stakeholders for decision-making purposes. But definitely with the assessment data, the teachers get feedback more timely, and also because it's electronic, they can run reports off of it, or they can crunch data to see, was a question really getting the response that I wanted, or was the question worded poorly based off everything's on digital platform. They can see exactly how many students answered with what response, and if it was the correct response. If it wasn't, they can see, did the majority of them choose the correct, or they all choose the correct or different not correct response. So they can crunch the data and ultimately refine the assessments to be better at exactly gathering the acknowledgement data that they want.
So we posed 2 questions in the survey to our students and to our faculty. So obviously you can see the use as it is today. Moving forward, it's important obviously that we have a culture established as well within the building as far as technology use, both on the faculty side and the student side. So the students were posed the question, technology use in the classroom can enhance my learning. And we were pleased with the response. So we had 62% of students who agree it does enhance their learning. We had 25% that were neutral to it, and really only 13% of our students did not view technology use in a positive way. So really, the overall majority of our students do find the value in technology use, and that's obviously very important for us as we continue to grow digital initiatives, that if it's not reaching our students, it's obviously not going to be a great investment of time, resources from a fiscal perspective, and even from an educational perspective. So we were very happy with that initial out-of-the-gate number from our students. Similarly, the faculty. So our students can desire technology integration all they want, but if we don't have a culture where the faculty are desiring further professional development and learning in technology use, again, we're going to run into some hurdles. So there again, we're pleased with our responses that we had. 79% of the faculty who do want to learn more about technology use. 16% were neither yay or nay, and only 5% of our faculty did report that they weren't really interested in any additional professional development. So there again, we saw the majority of our faculty and our employees interested in continuing to grow technology use. So we were very pleased that both on the student side and the employee side that we have the foundation for that culture in place, that we can continue to grow as we focus our activities in that area. So our goal is really to, at the end of the school year, refresh the same slide. So year over year, we'll have the same data that we can report back to you. So we have an accountability, really, and a charting as we're growing, both at the high school and throughout the district, obviously. Mrs. Retro mentioned the middle school coming online, so that will be a target area for us next for overall growth, and we hope to see the district numbers similarly grow as a result of that, and continue down through as we hit the intermediate center and the primary center. Any questions?
Can I ask, what this might have been on one of the previous slides, what the participation rate was for the survey at the teacher and student level at the high
Yep.
school?
So it varied by building.
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark. So on the faculty end, we probably had about 90% participation. Average response rate for the students would have been about 80%.
Okay.
Higher at the high school, a little lower as we got down to the primary
All right.
center.
Any other questions? Okay. I am going to ask that, as long as you have no objection, to make that presentation available to the rest of the board, because I'm going to give them the cliffiest of Cliff Notes version. So, okay?
Yep, no problem.
Excellent. Thank you.
So you can see, and it's important that we get our team in front of you guys so you can see the talent that they're investing in, because I think there's a lot of high-quality young administrators here on the team, and I think they did a great job tonight, so thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, a couple of standing items. The MTSS implementation 9 to 12 currently is well underway. Mr. Spores and Mr. Flanagan and now Mr. Becker has joined the team. Is ready to launch. They've developed the entire system. Right now they're looking, it'll be a several-year rollout. They built the framework, but now we're looking at the point where they're going to put the research-based interventions in play and the flex periods and things like that. So it's a growth process, but those guys have done a great job with it and just kind of keeping you up to date on where we are. As a principal leadership team, we meet every week so far in the summer, and so this conversation is happening K-12. And so what Jenny and Megan and Melanie are doing is the kind of root cause analysis and gap analysis on where to implement fully, so we have an aligned system. So kind of where we stand. Pre-apprenticeships, so you heard a lot about internships today. That's one model, and it's an important one, but Dr. Cooper and Mrs. Marcinko and I have been doing quite a bit of work on something called pre-apprenticeships, and that is a real model. It's an 8-course program. One of the groups that we're concerned about, that we're not serving as well as we could, are these young people who didn't go to the CTC, because those kids kind of knew in 8th, 10th grade, I want to be in the trades, I want to be in a technical field. We've discovered a population of kids who, about the end of their junior year, kind of hit the panic button. They thought they were college kids. People told them they should go to college, but they realized probably that's not really the right play for them. The debt scares them. What am I going to do? So this pre-apprenticeship is tied to the 7 trades. And Associated Building and Contractor Group is sponsored and supported by contractors across the state. And this pre-apprenticeship program is in place. We're continuing to investigate that. It looks like a great chance for a partnership for us. We'll bring more to you as we continue to investigate this. But we're probably looking at, we think, around 30 students ultimately who will leave right out of high school with the pre-apprenticeship in their pocket, able to enter apprenticeships and jobs waiting for them to the tune of probably $300,000 over 5 years. I mean, it's a process, and no student debt. The employer picks up the cost of the apprenticeship, as those of you who work in that field know. So, more to come. It's a very exciting, but we're very excited about this program, and we'll keep you updated. We're bringing online, of course, the curriculum. We know this is the curriculum mapping, alignment, curriculum instruction, assessment elements have been a long conversation since I've been around, and probably longer than that. We will align ourselves with the Pennsylvania State Literacy Plan. There are toolkits right from the state. It's very easy for us to do that work. The mapping teams are in place. The principals have sent me their team, people they want to represent each grade level, and I'll keep you updated every month on how that is progressing. We believe by next April, maps will be ready for final review in the 4 content core areas, and in a year or 2 it'll be the areas, the encore subjects.
Other.
Building focus, each principal has identified that they are going to, with Dr. Sincerapino, be focusing this year as we bring the curriculum into a linear development on instructional practice or on classroom environments. So I won't go into each principal's decision at this point, but that's coming forward and partnering with Dr. Sincerapino and the instructional coaches. This will happen in either 2:30 to 3 o'clock time, which is an open time for some PD, or at the elementary level, 8 to 8:30. So more to come on that as that gets developed. But we'll be getting our teachers trained, or teachers will have a conversation and input around those topics. So, okay?
Okay.
Instructional coaches.
So, sort of just, I guess, a general update on what's going on upstairs on the 3rd floor.
So we have worked this week on, the administrators are working through their administrative retreat and to the previous statement, spent the afternoon and part of this morning working through Danielson and that teacher effectiveness model and really what does that mean and how do you have conversations around instruction and classroom environment. So really stepping into that realm again, sort of making sure that we're all starting from the same platform moving forward. We'll roll that work out to teachers again likely in October so that conversations around instructional practice and classroom environment are all using the same language, starting from the same base. So that piece is there. Instructional coaches obviously will be part of that training, and instructional coaches are also going to work through with our year 2 teachers around Marzano's work around classroom instruction that works, and so being able to provide feedback to all of our teachers in really a meaningful way that's connected to that research base and foundation. We are working tomorrow and next week with the Anti-Defamation League, and I just got an email that I forwarded to Dr. Cooper that we've been accepted to participate in the study that we talked about.
Good.
And
Like just today?
Like literally 5 minutes ago.
Wow, okay.
So that might be a model of what happens when you drive somebody crazy with emails on a weekly basis after their proposed deadline. But we did get accepted to participate in that at both the middle school and the high school. So I'll do a little bit more digging into exactly what that means, but we got that email tonight. So
Good.
they will be here tomorrow and then next week. And by the end of the day on the 22nd, all of our staff, faculty, everybody will be trained in their model of how our lenses impact our reactions to situations and how our experiences color our lenses to things. So they will be here tomorrow morning and then 2 days next week. And really next week for us, from a professional development standpoint, is hitting the reset button with a new mission and a new vision statement that came out of comprehensive planning. So Dr. Cooper is kicking us off with a culture reset, and then we are going to spend the next 2 days then either alternating between ABL training and then working around some work by Maui Absadam on the 5 powers of teachers, which is really about growth mindset and how all of that kind of plays together. So it's a busy time out there, but there's lots of really good going on and really coming back to all of the work that was done in the spring around comprehensive planning, which we got no public feedback on, and Scott is taking off the website today.
Okay.
We do know that people use it because of according to folks who did some interviews in the last couple of weeks, people did reference the comprehensive plan, so at least 2 people we know. But it is there, so
Yeah.
and will no longer be there tomorrow. But it was there, and just for your information, there was no public comment
Okay.
on that.
So it won't be, after it's no longer a draft, it won't be on the website under,
It needs to come back through the board.
oh, I see. So it'll
to be
come off and then,
finally approved, and then it needs to go through PDE.
oh, and then once they've given the thumbs up. Okay, got it. Okay,
So we anticipate being able to have that to you, I guess, by August.
Right.
Meeting, and then we can send it off to PDE and be 2 months ahead of ourselves.
yes.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you. You see the SAS office, that is the Student and Academic Services office, which was Shelley's former office. Now we have the coaches aligned down there, the special education instructional coaches there, the technology instructional coach, the high school instructional coaches there. Of course, Shelley's still there. And we reestablished the school psychologists in the school counseling suites to provide better services. I'll come back to that at the last point. So you'll hear that reference from time to time. But now there's a hub. There are actually office hours, so to speak, for those instructional coaches, so teachers can go get a service point in addition to when the coaches are out, quote unquote, in the field. So just kind of a reference point for you to know that there's been that change in terms of logistics. We are strongly aligning ourselves with BCIU training there and committees and service points there to align ourselves again, in the state model. It's just about better communication, better service point, research-based practices and strategies. Many of the things that we try to wrap our minds around have been resolved and solved by others who do that kind of research and work. So it's really about kind of getting ourselves aligned and building our system that way. So I'll keep you updated on trainings and people who are sitting, a whole host of us are sitting on different committees with the IU. So more to come. Last point is the Suicide Prevention Task Force. So it's no secret here that we, like many schools, school districts, have very serious concerning issues around suicide for our students. And in talking, this came out of the leadership team, the principal leadership team, I was very familiar with how many ideations we had at the high school and how many of those turned into cases where students had to go to the hospital. I had no understanding and appreciation of what was happening at the middle, the intermediate, and the primary level. And so we had a substantial number, which I won't lay out here, but it was large, about ideation. And our counselors do an excellent job engaging it when the crisis happens. What we're trying to get our mind around is how do we become proactive and get a task force together to get people who are trained to look for the right things ahead of time. And part of it's the social emotional learning things which are happening, but how do we create a culture where kids are cared for and feel better, safe, happier, well. So that's, when you see us look at the Suicide Prevention Task Force, we're building that out. Right now it's conceptual, we're just having conversations.
Okay.
But stay tuned.
Great.
And that's the sum total for CNI.
So the longest,
It's been a busy summer.
the longest CNI ever. Congratulations. And so,
It's all work.
all right. So and do we have any input from anybody on the board or any of our administrative team? Any comments from members of the public? Okay, it is 7:19, and we are done. Thank you so much.